Hey everybody, welcome to the D. Louise book series. Welcome. It's nice to meet you. I'm Christina K-O-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books and talk about books. No special effects going on here. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Come on. No special effects. What you see is what you get. I have no editing skills. These videos are not edited in any way, shape, or form. I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe. It would mean a bunch. I'm working with a computer that's being held together by a binder clip, so as long as it's still held together, because the bottom fell up, it's still going good. And I would ask that you would please check out Star Trek Next Generation recaps on Friday and my If Then episodes on Friday. Apparently nobody's watching them, and I would really like somebody to watch them, so please watch them, especially the If Then on Black authors. Nobody has seen that. YouTube hasn't showed it to anybody, so people could start watching those episodes. I'd appreciate it. I did homicide detectives. I did Native American detectives, Tony Hillerman and Ann Hillerman and the rest of them. I did miss two, though. I'm very upset that I missed two. And I did lawyers, and I did homicide and forensics. I did a whole bunch of if-thens. We started out with the Bridgertons, if you like the Bridgertons, and maybe you like the Mallorys, Stephanie Lawrence Sinsters. So please check those out. And, of course, Flashback Mondays, where I talk about my favorite magazine in the whole world and give you about reviews on 30 or 40 books. And, of course, my daily book reviews. This is book 20 in the Victoria Thompson Gaslight series, and I hate that we're coming to an end soon. It's driving me crazy that we will have to wait a year for the next book once we finish with Rose Hill. But we've got Rose Hill on tap, and we've got the next one, Murder on Union Square, on tap. And we are also doing James Patterson's Alex Cross series, so this is the next one up. And we are also doing J.R. Ward, Black Dagger Brotherhood. This is the next one up. So that's my to-be read pile this week. But right now we're talking about Murder on Bowery, in the Bowery. And there's a couple of things about this that disturb me. Did you know, and I looked it up and it's true, and we'll talk about it a little bit when it happens, but apparently rich people took tours of poor neighborhoods. Why don't you help these people? Why don't you do something to help these people? Provide them with jobs or something. Taking tours of their neighborhoods. We'll get to that in a minute. But I also want you to be prepared for spoilers. Lots and lots and lots and lots of spoilers. I won't tell you who done it, but I will tell you everything else about our characters. So please be prepared for spoilers. Lots of spoilers. I've got to get one of the podcasters that I listen to often has one of those old taboos, beep beeps, and they go beep 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 beep. This is spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. We are also into the Big Brother season. Yahoo! Got to check out my Big Brother. Maybe I'll do a couple of videos. I'm really a small fry in the Big Brother family, very, very small fry. Taryn and Rob has a podcast, is the echelon group way up there. But anyways, let's get back to this. So I usually try and do a little bit of an introduction for all the characters, but there's not too many of them in this book, and we're gonna get a new recurring character. A new character that will be coming on the scene every once in a while, every so many books. He will show up again. He will become an associate of Malloy. Well, not, just an acquaintance. Let me put it that way. Wilbert comes to hire Frank. He tells Frank a fake story, but in the beginning, Frank believes the story. And I guess I started to say this before, and I got sidetracked, and I got sidetracked again. So Sarah was a midwife, and she was estranged from her family in the beginning, but they've gotten over that, and she's now back in her family good graces. She ended up marrying Frank Malloy, the detective cop that she'd worked with. Took 17 books, but they finally got married. And they still have Catherine and Maeve that she had adopted from the mission, who are now Frank is going to officially adopt. She was guardian, because women weren't allowed to adopt back then. So they've got Maeve and Catherine, and they've also got Mrs. Malloy, Frank's mom, who's living with them to help take care of the children and also take Brian to school. And Brian is deaf. So that's why we've been learning sign language here. Oh, look. Oh, yes, ma'am. What did you need? So I've been trying to relearn sign language, and also because I'm a substitute teacher. I did have a teaching license way long ago, but now I'm just substituting. So I'm trying to brush up on my sign language so I can help out in the classroom just a little bit, because I'm really not good with the signing. So I need to get back into it. So the guy says that him and his brother participated in the orphan train. Let me see if I eliminated the orphan train that took kids out into the West. And he tells this phony, it seems real when he's telling it to Frank. And Frank and Gino believe it up until a certain point that they prove it's completely 100% false. The guy said that him and his brother participated in the orphan train. And she's getting in trouble. I wish I had another camera, but I don't. And that he got an inheritance from a store owner, and his brother was let go from this family, and it was total force, totally 100% fabricated story. So, because Frank goes to the Children's Aid Society offices in the United Charities building on 22nd Street and talks with one of the administrators there, and there's no record of these two boys ever being involved with their mission. So Frank then knows that the Bert story is false. So then Gino talks to a man who gives refuge to some of the newsboys. There's a big strike going on with the newsboys. They want a few extra pennies, and Hearst is not giving them their pennies. So we're going to talk about that too, because I love the little brief notes at the end of the book by Victoria. I love those parts. So, and Sarah and May, they're going to buy. Sarah goes with Gino at first. Later on, she'll go with Maeve. But she goes with Gino to check out buildings, and she's going to open a hospital. After much discussion, Sarah didn't like going out in the middle of the night to go see patients, and she didn't want to. She wanted to continue to be useful, and Frank just was talking to her about it. So Sarah has decided to open up a home for unwed mothers where they can come and get medical assistance and have a place to live with their babies for a few months, or however long it takes them to get situated, get a job, get employment after the baby is born. But they can at least get free medical care in her hospital. We're going to call it a home for unwed mothers, so they can come to stay as soon as they need to, have their babies there, and stay until they're well again. We'll have a matron living in to watch over the girls and several midwives. We're going to have a war. There's a boy coming. He's a chicken, by the way. No, leave him alone. Leave him alone. He has been afraid of girls his entire life. And everybody's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was like, no, he's not afraid of me. He's afraid of the girl cats. Because even though Sandy's this big, well, she's not. She's a little bit. She's 1/4 his size. He will still run in the other direction. He's just afraid of girl cats. And every single girl cat we've ever had has taken great pleasure in putting him in his little place. So where was they? We'll have a matron living in to watch over the girls and several midwives who will be available. They may even live in and serve the rest of the community as well. I haven't figured that out yet. You'll have plenty of time to do that while you're getting somebody to fix up the place, Gino says. And no, they're going to have Maeve do it. Maeve is going to be in charge of the construction workers because when they were getting their house fixed, Maeve took over and got the job done quickly. So Maeve has the backbone to boss people around, and she does a really good job at it. So they're going to have Maeve be in charge of that. And then Frank and Gino do a little more investigating, and they also discover that they know where they find the boy that Arbonne was looking for Will was looking for, but they also discover that a tremendous part of his story is completely fake. And now that they're not sure if they're going to tell Will if they found the boy or not, and if they might tell him they found him, but they're not going to tell him where to find him because they don't know what the true story is yet, and they will eventually get the story. And so what I was saying before was in chapter 4, he was a tourist guide that took rich people on tours of poor neighborhoods. And I looked this up, and according to Wikipedia, slumming became a tourist phenomenon as wealthy British tourists wanted to visit areas of New York, such as the Bowery. Tourist guides were published, including walking tourists through impoverished urban areas. How depressing is that someone took amusement out of someone else's poverty? That's just not right. That is just so not right. So we finally get the rest of the story, and so once we find little Freddie Two Toes and we are with the newsboys, we also discover that in the process of looking for Freddie, we discover that a female has also been killed, and she was killed in the same vicinity as Freddie. So now we have 2 victims, but Frank is not concerned with the female in the beginning because she's not his case. But he discovered the female in the morgue when he went to identify and look at Freddie's body. And also, it was tradition at that time that the newsboys would gather their money together to pay for funerals. And I thought that was a really, really nice thing that they did. So, just a second. Let me go get. So, we have the discovery that Wilbert's story is fake. We have the discovery that there was a female also murdered at the same time that Freddie was murdered. So we have to find out who Wilbert really is and what his relationship, if he had one, with Freddie was. Because most of the stuff that Wilbert has told Frank and Gino is completely false. So we have the pursuit of the home for the unwed mothers that Sarah's doing. We have a brief appearance by her mom, not too much. And I do have to share a Mrs. Ellsworth, and I'm going to do some of that too. But I wanted to share just our new recurring character is Blackjack Robinson, and apparently he's a very wealthy young man, and he's prominent in his society. No, okay. Oh, yeah, we'll just skip that for now. So he's a very prominent member of the society in this particular neighborhood, in the Bowery neighborhood. And he's important, and he's in charge of certain things. And he will become a recurring character. We will see him again and learn about his background in future books. But we also learned that Mrs. Ellsworth's son, Nelson, we haven't seen him in a few books. He will be making significant appearances in upcoming books, but we haven't seen him in a while. And apparently he has finally proposed to the girl that he was dating, and we haven't even met her yet at all. She hasn't had any on-screen time. One of my authors says that if it happens on the page, if John and Joey go to the store on the page, then that's on stage. But if you're told that John and Joey went to the supermarket last week, then that is something that happened off stage. So a lot of Nelson's relationship with this girl has happened off stage. But we love Mrs. Ellsworth, and Miss Ellsworth comes over, and she says, she's pouring out beverages. She says, "Oh my, bubbles in your cup, Miss Malloy," Miss Ellsworth said, pointing. "That means money is coming." Sarah saw there was indeed a row of bubbles floating along the rim of her cup. "That's always good news. How are the wedding plans coming?" Mrs. Ellsworth's son Nelson had recently become engaged, although the mother of the groom was hardly involved at all. "As I am sure you know, we are planning a small dinner for the wedding party and the families, but aside from that, my duties include wearing a dress that is slightly less attractive than the bride's mother and showing up at the church on time. Malloy and I would like to have you and Nelson and his intended over for dinner one evening. We want to get to know her since she'll be our neighbor as well." And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that he takes over Sarah's house because it's next door, Sarah's old house, because it's next door to his mother's house. I'm not sure about that, but we'll get that confirmation in the next books. And what is funny about Mrs. Ellsworth's prediction there, and don't you wish that if you could put, when you pour a bottle of soda and it fizzles up, that the bubbles would mean something? So Sarah, later that day, Sarah tells Frank about the situation. And I can help. So that's settled. Maybe Mrs. Ellsworth's theory has some truth in it, unlike her superstitions. Sarah smiled. She had a lovely one today. I had bubbles in my coffee, and she said that meant I was going to receive some money. For some reason, this made him grin. As a matter of fact, Malloy reached into his pocket. "What's this?" she asked when he handed her a check. "It's my retainer from Robinson. I told him to make it out to you. It's a donation to your maternity hospital." So those are the two big issues here. But I also wanted to, let's just go back 1 second here. So we have the two murders, and that's what Frank and Gino and Maeve and Sarah work on throughout the book, is trying to solve that mystery. And there's a couple of upsetting issues and discrepancies that one of the characters was not really kosher at all. He did some unsavory things. But so I'm not going to tell you how it's resolved, but it turns out that the young lady was with child, and that leaves another big mystery. And she had romances with a couple different people, and it's a very long, involved story. So you'll have to read it to find out who murdered Freddie Two Toes and Estelle. Those are your two deceased people, and what they had in common, if anything, and why they were killed. So you'll have to check that out as Maeve and Gino do their little side flirt. Gino is trying really hard here, and it's, Maeve is just like, yes, yes, yes. We're going to get some jealousy factors in the next couple of books. And how things go with that, how finding out what's going on. But I did want to read the little extra piece back here. The newsboys strike both the World and the Journal in late of July of 1899. Kid Blink was one of the leaders of the strike. They managed to halt the sale of those papers not only in New York City but all over the East Coast. They didn't get William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer to lower the cost of their papers to the newsboys, but they did get them to agree to buy back any unsold papers. That was a huge victory. The story was dramatized in the movie Newsies, which contains many historical inaccuracies, but the movie is fun to watch. The newsboys and girls, yes, some girls sold newspapers, but they weren't nearly as many newsgirls as newsboys. as what the newsboys and girls, yes, some girls sold newspapers, but there weren't nearly as many newsgirls as newsboys, could rent a bed for the night in one of the newsboys' lodging houses located in the city. As I explained, the children often preferred to sleep on the streets, but when the weather was bad, they appreciated having the option. The orphan trains were also real. From 1854 to 1929, over 250,000 children were placed on the orphan train and taken out west, where they were put up for adoption, literally put up on a stage for people to see. They could choose the child they wanted. Many of those stories ended happily, with children finding loving homes. Other children were abused and exploited, and a few returned to New York permanently. The orphan trains and newsboys' lodgings were operated by the same charity, so the orphans were often recruited from the lodging houses. The boys, most often of whom had no families or who'd been abandoned by their families, looked after one another, and they even paid for one another's funerals, as I depicted in the book. Their greatest fear was dying unmourned and being buried in a pauper's grave. So you really have to read the book to catch up on the murder mystery. But I really enjoy the heck out of these books, and I hope you enjoy the heck out of them too. And I hope I left enough of the mystery there for you to enjoy there. But I love Maeve and Gino and Sarah and Frank and Mrs. Decker and Mrs. Malloy and Mrs. Ellsworth. I love them all, and I'm enjoying the heck out of the series. I will see you with the next book. Have a good one. Oh, wait a minute. Come here. Come say bye. Come here. Come say bye. Bye bye. Time for dinner. Bye bye. Have a good one.